So here let's begin on this subject matter that in this present time with the passing of Congo Raki, the Nyabinghi Elder in Ethiopia on the 15th, there's the issue of where will he be laid to rest. And the request now has been or is being made or has already been made to the local Ethiopian church in the Shashamene area that they would bury and take care of the ritual of the dead for the Rastafari Nyabinghi Elder Congo Raki. I mean, when you think about it for a moment, it must bother you, and it should, if you're conscious and you're aware that we don't have anything in place to handle such contingencies in such situations. And it should not be so if we are truly Rastafari. Because in this book, which is prefaced by His Imperial Majesty, the FETHA Nagast, there's a 22nd chapter of the first part of the book that addresses this particular subject matter. So, as a sort of a requiem for Bongo Raki, or Congo Raki as he's also known, the Nyabinghi Elder, we'd like to have this teaching and to share this teaching of His Imperial Majesty so that hopefully we would grow up as Rastafari and become mature and be able to handle and angle such situations and not have to, on one hand, say one thing and then later on do something else. So the 22nd chapter of the FETHA Nagast, Besam Ab, Menfes Kedus, Ahadu Amlak, and it begins, in the church, the Beta Christian, the house of the anointed ones, those who are called out from the world, you shall gather without laziness to read the holy books and say psalms for those who are asleep, such as the martyrs and former Kedusan or former saints, the Kedusan Kedamawiyan, the former saints, or the Kedusan Gedamawiyan, the saintly monks who are asleep, and for your brethren who are asleep, and were mitmanan or amanyoch, or were faithful, those who admitted in Exine, in Adonenu, in Gietachin, in our Master. Offer for them in your Beta Christian the prayer of sacrifice, Meswa'it, which is His holy body and His precious blood, to the King of heaven. Offer it to say farewell to the one who sleeps. Pray for the one who is asleep by walking before his bier, the palanquin, and say psalms. If he was faithful to Christos, to the Moshe, the anointed one, the prophet David has said, precious before Adonai, before Yahweh, is the death of His Kedusan, of His saints. He also said, turn, O my soul, to thy rest, for Adonai, for Yahweh has been bountiful to thee. So this is one this is one paragraph. We want to pause here so we can go over this and put this into context. Is this something that is too hard for Rastafari to do for our loved ones, our beloved ones, for the martyrs of Rastafari, for the holy ones, the Isla ones of Rastafari, for our brethren who are not dead according to the FETHA Nagast in the worldly sense of dead, but who are asleep? Who sleep. So we say pass on, but if they were mitmanan, that means that they admitted, had amen, and had the truth in spirit and in truth in the King of Kings and His Christ, and they are asleep. And the mitmanan in the Gieta, we are to offer for them in our Beta Christian. What is the tabernacle? What is the Nyabinghi Tabernacle? They chant psalms, so why don't they do the rest of this? Why do not Rastafari keep this if this is a teaching of His Imperial Majesty? It didn't say they were dead. The dead is, of course, that is the category based on coming from the world and crossing over as Ibrawion or Hebrews to the land of the living and the true epignosis, the full knowledge of the King of Kings and his Christ, they are asleep. So we are to offer for them in our Beta Christian the prayer of sacrifice, which is his holy body and his precious blood, to the King of heaven, to Yesamayat Nugus. Offer it to say farewell to the one who sleeps. Pray for the one who is asleep by walking before his palanquin or his bier. You understand? You see that in ancient Egypt where they carry the, where they carry basically the coffin. In other words, by walking before his bier. You understand? Here it says before. In the Old Testament, other times some may walk after, depends. And saying psalms, and saying the psalms. If he was faithful to Christ, that's a condition there. If he was faithful to the Moshiach, the prophet David has said, now here is quoted Psalm 115 and 15 and Psalm 114 and 7. So there is a word sound as well. You understand? So there is a teaching right out of the scriptures, out of the Bible, out of the glory of his imperial majesty. But is anyone talking about this? Is anyone saying this? This is so that maybe we did not know this in the past, but now that we know, we need to act on it and to do, you understand, because that's what shows that I is called and faithful and chosen. So precious before Adonai is the death of his saints, his holy ones, Kedusanu. Turn, O my soul, to that rest. Return, O my soul, to that rest, for Abertu Yahweh has been bountiful to thee. Now it moves on to say, and this is an important teaching on death. This is the teaching, the true teaching on death concerning the Rastafari, based on the teaching of his imperial majesty. Not all that pseudo-esoterical speculation that a lot of ones out there, and then when they're confronted with the real world situation, one frees up, one lock up, one cannot really rationalize or deal with it and take care of the responsibility. So it says, those who Amen or Mamin, those who believe, or rather admitted in the Gita, in the Adonai, do not die. So therefore this conforms to the true Rastafari saying and teaching that I do not die. Because it says here that those who Mamen, or who admit in spirit and in truth in the Gita, in the Adonai, in the Master, in Yahweh, in he who is the living one who lives, do not die. As was said by Adonai to the Sadducees, as Adonai Yehoshua or Gita Jesus said to the Sadducees in Matthew 22 and 23. Therefore the bones of those who are living in the Adonai are not despised or defiled. That's how a lot of ones, Rastas in ignorance, from what reports that we have heard, have dealt with other situations of the passing of ones and ones. That these bones were despised. In other words, the dead one was like in the house, and everybody was outside the house and had to wait until the Ethiopian priests came and other local officials to really handle that and deal with that. So if we was in the teaching of His Majesty, we would know that those who admit, who have true Amen, true admittance, you understand, in Gita Jesus, in Adonai Yehoshua HaMashiach, that they do not die. And that was testified to the Sadducees by Gita Jesus. So we have, and this is our divine heritage. This is why we're falling short as Rastafari. And when these situations come upon us, there is not the ways and means to properly handle it and to really honor those martyrs and former Kedusan and Isla ones and brethren and Mitmanon who are asleep, not dead, but who are asleep. So if and as it is acknowledged that our brother Bongo Rocky, you understand, was admitting in the truth of the King of Kings and his Christ, If that is true, then he has not died, so there's nothing to fear. If that is not true, then may the Almighty have mercy on his soul, as on all of our souls, if it is not true. So it says, therefore the bones of those who are living in the Lord, in the Gita, are not despised or defiled, because the prophet Eliseus, after his death, made the dead man killed by the Syrian soldiers rise. Remember that? When the body of the dead man touched the bones of Eliseus, or Elisha, the prophet, he came back to life and rose. And this is in 4th book of Kings, or 2nd Kings, chapter 13, verse 21. This happened because the body of Eliseus, or Elisha, was saintly, or was Qiddus, and therefore pure.